Hey everybody, how are we doing today? Sorry we were running a little bit late, but I had to get dressed. You know, it's a sunny day here at the beach, and we're gonna sing the songs I sang for the Queen. So I'm having a gin and tonic. More about that later. And let's see here. Let me turn my phone off. Why is it that just when I'm ready to go, I forget half the things I was supposed to do. I brought flowers. Hopefully that helps, brightens your day. You can take these off. And I'm going to start with my first song. And I'm doing this in order. The performance was a year ago, March 12th. No, it wasn't at Buckingham Palace. It was at Winfield House. Winfield House is the official residence of the U.S. ambassador to the United Kingdom. Presently, that would be my friend Woody Johnson, who initially had me come out over 2 years ago when he was first starting to sing at St. Paul's Cathedral on Thanksgiving Day, American Thanksgiving, and he had me sing God Bless the USA. It's a Thanksgiving, an American Thanksgiving service at St. Paul's Cathedral, co-sponsored by St. Paul's and the American International Church. And I ended up singing after dinner at Winfield. My daughter Tessa and I were guests at Winfield House for Thanksgiving dinner. Pretty damn fancy. That might explain my frock. But the first, it was just very casual, and he called me over a year ago now, tracked me down in Cabo San Lucas, and says, I want you to come back and do what you did in our living room, and this time it's for the Queen. I couldn't breathe. Imagine while I'm singing this song that I'm having a private moment with the Queen. This is after we've had dinner and cocktails. I'll tell you about that a little bit more. But only I really am watching her. Everybody else is watching me. And while I'm singing this song, Her Majesty pulls out the purse, the famous purse. The biggest question, is anything in the purse? I can tell you at least one thing that's in the purse. I first panicked because I thought, oh no, she's signaling it's time to go already. Because evidently if it's on this hand, it's one arm it's time to stay, and this one it's time to blow this popsicle joint. So, but no, she opened it up and pulled out lipstick and applied a fresh coat of lipstick while I'm singing. So it was like we had this private little human moment, and I'll never forget it. But okay, so this is the song I started with. Oh, for Pete's sake! See, it's all these little technical. Nope. Talk amongst yourselves. I have to connect this guy to this guy. Hope it works. If not, talk amongst yourselves. Looks like I'm not gonna. No, it's not working. Okay, then I have to do this. Sorry, everybody.
No worries.
Bluetooth, turn that off. Let's see if that helps. No.
Is the speaker on?
What I have to do, I think I can do this while it's still going. Click. I don't know why it's not connected. Oh, maybe because the power's off.
I did say is the speaker on.
Did you just say
I
that?
did say that, yeah.
Okay. I have a brilliant daughter. Ah, okay.
That's why we have children.
Oh my God. So, as you can see, this is unrehearsed, unprepared, but I have neighbors looking from their window over there, and Donna, my friend Donna, is sitting on a blanket. She's drinking her gin and tonic from a teacup.
From Windsor.
From Windsor even. Oh, that's even more fun. All right, here we go. Some enchanted evening, you may see a stranger. You may see a stranger across a crowded room. I'd have to. Okay, this is not going well. One more time. Enchanted evening, you may see a stranger. You may see a stranger across a crowded room, and somehow you know even then, that somewhere you'll see her again and again. Some enchanted evening, someone may be laughing. You may hear her laughing across a crowded room, and night after night, as strange as it seems, the sound of her laughter will sing in your dreams. Who can explain it? Who can tell you why? Fools give you reasons, wise men never try. Some enchanted evening, when you find your true love, when you feel her call you across a crowded room, and fly to her side and make her your own, or all through your life you may dream all alone. Once you have found her, never let her go. Once you have found her, never let her go. Parley! That's our neighbor's dog, Parley. Hi, Adam. Hi, Nina.
Hi, Dennis.
How are you,
Donnie,
Steve?
fantastic.
Loving you guys, Donnie. A quick note about what I'm drinking. I'm having a gin and tonic because that is what I had with Her Majesty the Queen. But this ain't just any gin. This is Gin from the House of Lords. Brought back. Today is my quarantine day number 14. So tomorrow I'll be through with my official London quarantine, going into then my Redondo Beach quarantine until otherwise notified. But straight from the House of Lords, from Parliament, they have a little gift shop. It has gin. Isn't that wonderful? Also Scotch whiskey, and I brought home some white wine as well, some Chardonnay. I love you, Parley. The next song I sang for the Queen, I told a quick story to her. I said, Your Majesty, with your permission, I'd like to tell you a quick story, and that is about my mother. When she was a little girl, lived in London, and my Aunt Lexi was born in London. Their parents, my grandfather was working for Carnation Milk in London, and in 1939, they came home from there as the war was starting. My mother has a memory of coming out from seeing The Wizard of Oz and asking my grandfather why they were digging holes in the street. That's because they were trenching. Anyway, my aunt was born there, and when I told my mother that I was going to be singing for the Queen in London, she said, "Oh my goodness, I used to call her all the time on my toy telephone." So I explained this to the Queen, that she would call you, Your Majesty, she would call you on the phone when you were, of course, Princess Elizabeth. And she would say, "And how are you, Princess Elizabeth? And how is Princess Margaret? And can you come for tea? Can I come play?" And she would do this regularly. Well, then I said, "Your Majesty, my mother was about 4 or 5 at the time, maybe 6. I said, "But you were, I think, closer to 13, and you may have already lost track of where your toy telephone was. So you may not have gotten the call," but I said, "I'm here 80 years later to make sure that the message gets through." And I got a good laugh from her talking about her toy telephone, but I also got a warm smile and acknowledgement that my mother had been calling her, which is very meaningful to me. Kind of hard not to tell this story without getting a little teary-eyed. Quite frankly, you know, this hat is my grandfather's, same grandfather I just talked about. But I'm feeling a little bit not honoring the Queen enough, so I think I'm going to put this aside. There we go. Are we talking? Now we're talking? Now we're really drinking. So this is the next song I sang for the Queen. It had to be you. It had to be you. I wandered around, finally found somebody who could make me feel blue, could make me be true, or even be glad just to be sad. Thank God of you. Some others I've seen might never be me, might never be cross, trying to be boss. That thinking of you. Some others I've seen might never be me, might never be cross or try to be boss, but they wouldn't do. For nobody else gave me a thrill. With all your faults, I love you still. It had to be you, wonderful you. It had to be every time I sang the word fault, I made sure to look away from the Queen. I couldn't look at the Queen and say, with all your faults, she's faultless, she's perfect. She's about this tall, too. She's an itty-bitty little thing. And people ask, did you bow, do you curtsy, or what do you do? Well, men are supposed to just do a little nod of the head. No, we had zero protocol prep, by the way. She just walked into the cocktail party, there she was, 20 of us. I was one of the last people she talked to as she was kind of moving through the room, and we chatted and had a gin and tonic together for like 10 minutes. And we talked about some funny things.
Where was this?
This was at Winfield House in London. Duke of Marlborough sort of announced to her, sort of blurted it out almost, that he had, I think it was either a hip replacement or a knee replacement. And that started our little microcosm of, 3 or 4 of us with her. Suddenly we're talking about limb replacements. And I happened to mention that I had this friend of mine at the time, Bobby Vickers, one of my dear friends, he was laid up at that point because he had a double knee replacement. And I said, well, I have a friend in America that just had both of his knees replaced. And she looked at me, she said, both at the same time? And I said, yeah. She said, wow, that's remarkable. So then, of course, I had to call my friend Bobby and say, I talked about you to the Queen. But we talked about music. The day before this event had been Commonwealth Day, and she shared how, they have a song for Commonwealth Day, but in her wry, she does have a wicked sense of humor. She says, you don't go away humming the tune. They got her on the subject of they don't write them like they used to. And while I was singing It Had to Be You, there was an actor there whose name I can't remember, really famous guy. I think he was in, I forget even. But he said that she was tapping her toes, and she leaned over to him and says, it's nice to have music that you can sing along or tap your toes to. He said they don't write them like that. So this next song, I had done a little bit of research, and we reached out to her lady in waiting, one of her lady in waiting, and asked about her personal music tastes. And quote unquote, we were told she likes show tunes like Oklahoma. Now, what I found out after the fact, in fact, as I got back to the Connaught Hotel after singing for her, where I didn't go to bed that night, I was full on Cinderella. But my friend Connie O'Connor had sent me this wonderful article about how Prince Philip and Princess Elizabeth, early on in their friendship and relationship, went with the royal family to see Oklahoma in the theater on the West End. And that their song was actually, people will say that we're in love. Prince Philip was not present at this event. It was just the Queen and her lady in waiting that came along, who was just a young 87 years old herself. She was a kid. Thank you, Harley Davidson. Anyway, where was I going with that? So this next song I introduced, I said I have it on good authority that there are some American musicals I'd like to take us to a good Broadway slice of American Pie. And I sang this song from Oklahoma. And guess what? As I sang this song, I looked out, and Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth, was singing along.
Oh, yay!
We'll get it started. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. Morn is as high as an elephant's eye, and it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky. Everybody, oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. All the cattle are standing like statues. All the cattle are standing like statues. They don't turn their heads as they see me ride by. And that little brown maverick is winking her eye. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. Oh, the sounds of the earth are like music. All the sounds of the earth are like music. The breeze is so busy, it don't miss a bee tree or a bee. And that old weeping willow is laughing at me. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Come on, sing it. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a beautiful feeling. I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. Oh, what a beautiful day. East Oklahoma. Thank you, guys. So I got to give a shout out. You know, when I told this story about the lipstick, I was approached. It was actually my cousin Liz. Hi, Liz. Hi, book club. Liz's book club. Anyway, she writes for People Magazine, and she approached me and she said, "I think they'd like to do an article on you." And so we did a long interview, and the headline became "Queen Whips Out Lipstick." And not only that, it went kind of viral, and the different presses in the UK, including the Daily Mail, all ran the story according to People Magazine, and et cetera, et cetera. But by then they had also said that I had sung with the Beatles and Beyonce, and I forget the third. But I happened to mention that, kind of laughing about it, thinking, how do these people come up with this stuff? And I happened to mention it to my daughter Julia, and she said, "Oh, is that still in there?" Evidently, she and her friends on one late college night, we went to college one time. Huh?
High school.
Was it still high school? Oh my God, it goes back even that far. She and her friends decided to change my Wikipedia page and augment things a little bit. Well, that made it into the UK Daily Mail and the London Free Press. And what were the names of my daughters?
Kelly, Julia, and Bridger.
Kelly, Julia, and Bridger. Those were
Oh,
her
Julia
two
said
friends.
U2 was the third one.
Oh, you too. That's right. Oh, is she on there? Hi, Julia. You're so busted. So the next song that I sang was something that Woody Johnson specifically asked me to sing, and it's why he brought me to London in the first place, and it put me in an awkward position. He wanted me to sing "God Bless the USA" to the Queen of England. How do you do that? And I think of it, it's a very personal song for me, and it's not just about the military, it's about immigrants and all the people that came before us that laid the path for us that we walk today. And I knew that there was going to be a second performer following me. Her name is Catherine Jenkins. She's a very famous Welsh soprano, fabulous talent, absolutely drop-dead gorgeous, and a beautiful, beautiful voice. And she was going to be singing a couple of odes to England. So I thought, okay, fair is fair, and I can do this. But still, how do I sing this face-to-face to Queen Elizabeth? And so I thought about it, and I thought, okay, I can do this differently. Because when I'm around a bunch of Americans and we're in America, I feel it's a very uniting song. How do I make it a uniting song when I'm singing to some British guests, some American guests, and the guest of honor? So I introduced it by saying that we all have this sense of home. And God knows, we're spending a lot of time in it right now, each of us, getting to know the walls of our home. And
At least it's clean.
I talked about, I said, we cherish, no matter how far away we travel, we know about coming home. And I said, whether we're talking about our home with four walls or our home with four borders, I said, what tonight was about is opening our homes to each other and inviting each other in and celebrating life together. And somehow that felt a little bit more comfortable, singing this song to Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth. Again, just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause my flag still stands for freedom. They can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't ones who died who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love my land. God bless the USA. To the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, Detroit down to Houston, New York to LA. There's a pride in every American heart, and it's time to stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the ones who died and gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't God bless the world, you know? So I closed my set with this last song, which got a big rousing, everybody kind of into it. I survived that song, for one thing. I've now sung it in two very hallowed places. One in the presence of Her Majesty, the Queen, and the second was the first time over there, was singing it basically on the altar, a mere steps away from where both Charles and Diana were married, where Winston Churchill's funeral was, and where his casket lay. Powerful, powerful, but with an American audience, and expats and embassy workers, service people. It meant a lot. So I survived that, and so I returned to sing one final song. I actually have two left, but this was how I closed before Catherine was introduced. And I'll close. I'll sing this, and I have to tell you one more story. Let's sing along. Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain, where the waving wheat can sure smell sweet, where the wind comes right behind the rain. Oklahoma, every night my honey lamb and I sit alone and talk and watch a hawk making lazy circles in the sky. We know we belong to the land, yo-ho, and the land we belong to is grand. And when we say, yo, Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain, where the wailing wheat can sure smell sweet, and the wind comes right behind the rain. Oklahoma, every night my honey lamb and I sit alone and talk and watch a hawk making lazy circles in the sky. We know we belong to the land, and the land we belong to is grand. And when we say, yo, yo, yay, we're only saying you're doing fine, Oklahoma, Oklahoma, O-K-L-A-H-O-M-A, Oklahoma. I thought I cut this. And the land we belong to is grand. And when we say, yo, yo, yeah, we're only saying you're doing fine, Oklahoma, Oklahoma, O-K-L-A-H-O-M-A, Oklahoma. Yo!
The third hallowed ground.
No?
No.
Can I ask all you why you let me sing God Bless the USA wearing a flippin' tiara?
That was awesome.
You know what? It just added to the list of places I've sung the darn song. I sang it at St. Paul's and for Her Majesty, and I sang it here wearing a tiara. It just goes to show you that anything's possible. So one of the other conversations that I had with the Queen was about music, and she was quite, frank about how they don't write them like they used to, and but she was fascinated that I was an opera singer, and she said, my mother took me to my first opera when I was 8, and I said, wow, that's really young, and she looked at me and she said, oh yes, Margaret and I failed to find any sense of humor in it at all. And then she said, it was Wagner's Tristan und Isolde. And I said, wow. I said, that's just cruelty. And in my mind, I'm just picturing I'm talking to somebody about her mother. I'm not picturing I'm talking to Queen Elizabeth about Queen Elizabeth. That was crazy. But she said, she said, oh yes. Well, and I said, oh, Wagner. I said, well, you know, there's a famous saying from one of our great Americans, Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, who's famous for saying that Wagner's not as bad as he sounds. And so we laughed, and she said, oh, it was ghastly long. And then sort of as a parting thought, she was starting to start moving away. She looked back, she said, of course it was the reopening of Covent Garden, so I suppose we had to go. And it was at that moment that I realized, holy crap, I've been talking to the Queen all this time, and she's telling me these intimate stories about her mother. You know, we all have mothers and fathers, and hers just happened to be Queen Elizabeth, married to King George, and she wasn't raised to be queen, you know, that came very late in her upbringing. So there's a very soft, charming familiarity to her, and someone that really does like good music. So at the end of Catherine Jenkins' set, she started this song, and then I came in and we sang it together. Oh great, somebody's fire alarm's going off, and this is it. I hope you've had fun. I'm going to finish my gin and tonic. But thank you all for listening, and for humoring me. And we'll see you tomorrow. Maybe Sinatra tomorrow? Let me know. Quando sono solo all'orizzonte mancan le parole. Sì, lo so che non c'è luce in una stanza quando manca il sole. Se non ci sei tu con me, su le finestre mostrato il mio cuore che hai acceso, chiudi dentro me la luce che hai incontrato per strada. Con te partirò, paese che non ho mai veduto e vissuto con te, adesso sì li vivrò con te, partirò su navi per mari che io lo so non esistono più, con te io li vivrò. Quando sei lontana sogno all'orizzonte mancan le parole, e io sì lo so che sei con me, tu mia luna tu sei qui con me. Hi guys. Mio sole tu sei qui con me, con me, con me, con me. Time to say goodbye. Paese che non ho mai venuto e vissuto con te, adesso sì li vivrò con te, partirò su navi per mari che io lo so non esistono più, con te io li vivrò con te, partirò su navi per mari che io lo so non esistono più, con te io li vivrò con te. Thank you guys. Thank all your neighbors. You guys being here in person, all 6 feet minimum apart, except for the family looking out the bathroom window, who's all locked up together. You guys help, and my daughter Maura sitting behind the camera. Notice I'm not backwards. She's monitoring it from the other side. That way I don't have to look at my ugly face all the time. And it says entering Dennis if you can even see it. But I hope you all are sitting tight. And I went for a walk this morning. They were playing volleyball again. Damn it. That really upset me because chances are walking on the beach in the next couple of days will probably come to an end. I know a lot of the beaches have already been closed, but damn it, people. Quit touching balls and passing them back and forth. Quit touching each other. Respect these rules so we can have our walks on the beach. You know, we don't all have to go at the same time. But I live here, and I want my beach. So completely selfish. Anyway, I'm sending you all love. The Queen enjoyed the performance. As she left, we all were... oh, can I tell you one more story?
Yeah.
All right. For those of you that have seen the Downton Abbey movie, Dennis McNeil, had a full-on Mosley moment. I have had nightmares about this, and this is the first time I'm speaking this publicly about it. I've shared it privately with a few people. But after having such an extended conversation with her before dinner, and then I was the first person behind her and the ambassador into the dining room, and the ambassador's wife, Suzanne, had kind of was whisking me in, saying, "Dennis, come on, help me get people in there," and because I think we were all deer in headlights, having just had cocktails with the Queen, and it just felt so normal. So I walked in, and here's Ambassador Johnson and Her Majesty sitting side by side, one big long table for 20 people with the most gorgeous flowers. Some of them actually look like this. There were these color roses. Didn't realize that. Hundreds and hundreds of them. The most gorgeous dining room you could ever imagine. Look up Winfield House. There's a book on it and plenty of pictures. It's just an absolutely gorgeous place. It was built by Barbara Hutton, and then when she was through using it and decided, she gave it to the United States, and it's been the home of many, many ambassadors since. I believe Woody Johnson is the Queen's 27th U.S. ambassador, and President Trump is her 12th president, 13th president, but 12th that she met with. She never had an official meeting with Johnson. So that's pretty phenomenal. Anyway, the story is, I walk in, here they are in this beautiful setting. I've just felt so comfortable speaking with her. Now she's like my little friend. We just talked about opera, right? Her mom and yada, yada, yada. I said, "Can I take your picture?" She gave me a blank stare, and the ambassador looked and said, "Sure, why not?" And didn't touch her, but he did kind of, like we do, kind of lean in, and she said, she didn't say anything. So now I'm taking out my phone. I'm now venturing onto a planet I've never been on, because I'm pointing my phone at the Queen, and it's now feeling very, very, very wrong. It's at that point that Mrs. Johnson came around to this side, and you'd think that I was a Labrador puppy. She swatted that thing, and she didn't swat it out of my hand, but oh my God, you'd think I had just pooped on the carpet in the living room. She goes, "Dennis, put that away, you can't do that." After I just had her husband's permission. Anyway, I put that away, and I sat down, and then, the rest of the evening unfolded, and I sang. It was all lovely. But it wasn't for a couple of days that I started thinking about that, and then I stopped sleeping. And then when I saw the Downton Abbey movie, and poor Mosley has this moment in front of the King and Queen, I almost had a heart attack, because I was in his body at that moment. So anyway, that's my last story. I love you guys. More tomorrow. Keep the comments coming. I love hearing from you. That keeps me going, because this isn't It's not the easiest thing to do, and of course it's not perfect. But I do kind of plan and think about it. So love getting your requests and things, and I'll try and do that as much as possible. If you want me to do this every day, I'll keep doing it as long as we're here. It might get old. Anyway, God bless y'all. You can push the blue or the, let's see, which one? Thank you. Oh, wait. Let me put my tiara back on and my top hat. Bye, everybody.
I don't want to push that.
Yeah, right? Yeah, finish.